Welcome to the Half-Blood Report.
The place for Percy Jackson news, interviews, and all things Riordan. I'm Samuel, your co-host.
And I'm Diego, your other co-host.
So, 30th episode.
30th episode. It's been that long?
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a while. That's 30 weeks. Well, 30 weeks. 30
Well,
weeks.
more because we missed like a month or two.
Yeah. Oh. Has it been a year already?
No, it'll
Almost.
be a year in a couple months away. Anyways,
Nice.
we got
Okay, moving on.
big news. We got really big news this week, I would say. Like, we'll sometimes
Like super big
say
news.
we get
like
we'll
like
sometimes
maybe
say
the
we
biggest
got
news
big news.
ever.
Maybe not the biggest news ever, but Rick Riordan.
Well, the biggest news we've ever discussed, I think. Right?
Maybe. Anyways,
It's up there.
Rick Riordan did an interview with an Irish radio station. I listened to the interview. It was geez,
Hard
I
to
have to
decipher.
say, well, I wasn't gonna put it like that. Okay, sure, Diego. Sure.
Hard to understand.
I'm sorry if we have any Irish listeners out there.
But yeah.
Of course,
Rick
I'm better
Riordan-
than Diego, who just says no. But honestly, I wasn't actually a big fan of the interview. I don't think the interview knew two things about Percy Jackson. So he kind of just asked Rick Riordan the questions Rick Riordan has been asked a million times before. So
which
I don't know,
kinda sucks.
but
when we meet Rick, we'll make sure to ask him the top questions.
like, why did he change his Twitter handle from the iconic @Camp Half-Blood to the @Rick Riordan?
Yeah, that's a good question. We should ask him that. When we see
Yes.
Rick, we're gonna ask him that.
All right.
We're gonna go up to him and we're gonna be Rick. This is the most pressing question. We do a podcast based on all your work, and we've been doing it for about a year. And the biggest question that we have throughout all of our research is, why'd you change your Twitter handle? Why?
Yeah. Why? It was iconic. Everyone knew it. Jeez.
Yeah.
Anyways, but we've taken a while to actually get here. We're about like 3 minutes into the podcast, and Rick Riordan announced he's going to be writing about Irish mythology. He's doing a master's online to learn about Irish myths, and then he's going to apply that to a series sometime in the future. Diego, you know what this means?
What?
For the next 2 years on the podcast, we're going to be discussing Irish mythology. Before Rick Riordan has even announced the series or what it's going to be called, which will probably be, in my opinion, in 2 to 3 years, we're going to have done basically an episode on every major Irish figure. And then we're going to have nothing to talk about when he actually announces what it's going to be about.
Either that or the Rick Riordan Presents imprint is going to have to start working double time.
We're going to basically have done Rick Riordan's masters.
Exactly. We're gonna be doing right alongside him. But yeah, that's kind of our job, to be knowledgeable and to discuss stuff. And speaking of, me and Samuel
predicted something.
Yes, me and Samuel have made many predictions on this podcast throughout our time. Some of them have not turned out great.
I would say we rarely actually go back to see if they're correct. Like when we did predictions on Radiostation, and then it came out, we didn't really go back at our predictions, but I'm pretty sure I lost a $5 bet or something.
You lost a $5 bet, and I predicted that what's his name? Najoni's brother was gonna be nerdy.
He was artsy, not nerdy. I don't think you won anything from that.
Okay, well, I was close.
We predicted things about how the relationship between Brer Rabbit and Tristan Shang would be. Well, we didn't predict. We tried to predict. We tried to predict many things on this podcast, and we rarely go back to see if we were right. But I would like to play a clip from all the way back in October, episode 5, and I'm very proud of this. So I feel that after Charles Apollo wraps up,
Irish mythology, maybe.
Irish.
I don't know. It could all happen.
Yes, we're gonna see a series focusing entirely on the adventure
Leprechauns.
leprechauns. I would love that series so much. Yay! I mean, it was a joke to us, but we
Apparently we were right.
joked. For once, it wasn't one of our predictions that was correct, but one of our jokes.
Yeah, exactly. I love how like nonchalantly I said it. I was like, I don't know, Irish mythology maybe. Like it was the stupidest idea in the world, and then like 3 months later, Rick's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do Irish mythology," and I'm just like, "You see, I was a genius. I'm telepathic."
Yeah,
Basically, what we've learned from this is that Diego's predictions are always right.
Diego is such a genius. He can't count right. He said it's been 3 months since October. I'm
Okay.
sorry to disappoint you, Diego, but this isn't January, it's April.
Well, really, I thought it was still January. I guess I haven't got it out in a while. I don't remember the last time I actually looked like at a in paper calendar.
At my grandma's house.
Oh yeah.
Except my grandma's calendar is like 2 years off. She doesn't like flip the page for like
That's such a grandma thing to do though.
She also hasn't taken down her Christmas tree for the past 4 years.
What a it takes a true like god to leave up a Christmas tree like all year round. And then when people ask you about it, just be like, "Is it not Christmas?"
But yeah, Irish mythology. Are you pumped, Diego? We're getting more Rick Riordan.
I am. I actually have a prediction. So the next piece of demigod news is a Readriordan article about Iris.
Wait, are
no,
we...
no. Just let me go. Let me go. Just don't worry. The next Riordan article, the next piece of demigod news that we're gonna discuss after this, is a spotlight on Iris, the rainbow goddess. Now, if you triangulate the position of Iris, the rainbow goddess, and Irish mythology, and you kind of like connect the dots between them, you get rainbows, right? Rainbows under the leprechaun. Or no, the leprechaun has a rainbow, and then there's a pot of gold at the end of it, right? And Iris sounds kind of like Irish. So then basically what Reed Riordan is trying to tell us is that rainbows are gonna be in the next Rick Riordan series.
I was about to say this, but as I guess really show not tell is really important, and so as Diego has just so beautifully illustrated, we don't actually know a lot about Irish mythology, so I don't know. I'm excited. This will be a learning experience. We're gonna be talking about Irish mythology on the podcast
And rainbows.
We're gonna be learning about it. We're gonna be learning about it when Rick Riordan
Mostly
publishes
rainbows.
his next books, publishes his next his series. So I'm excited. What
I am too. Like no joke. It's actually kind of cool because I mean we've been like messing around with like Greek and Roman myths and stuff like forever, but like Greek and Roman myths are like basically the same myth. And like the Egyptian and Norse were cool, but like it was a 3-book series. And actually, maybe the Irish thing will be a 3-book series. Cause like I don't know if Rick's gonna write like a whole.
You mean a trilogy? You know, there's
trilogy,
a word
yes.
for a 3-book series.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
A very specific word. See, I can understand not remembering the word pentology because that's a 5-book series. I can understand saying 5 books. I can understand saying 4-book series. I can understand saying, yeah, Harry Potter is a 7-book series. What I can't condone is saying the word 3-book series. Okay, Diego?
I'm so sorry. Okay, it might be a trilogy. I actually think it's gonna be a trilogy. So another Diego prediction here. It's gonna be a trilogy.
Yeah, so let's briefly brush over the other two things on the agenda and so we can move on to
Uh,
some other
yeah.
sections.
So, like I mentioned, there's a spotlight on Iris from Readriordan. So if you guys haven't already checked that out, make sure to go check it out. Um, it's good. I like it. The only thing I disagree with is the character art. See, when I thought hippie, I thought hipster instead of hippie. So I kind of got the wrong idea of what she looked like.
Yes, I had to like literally just tell Diego that hippies and hipsters were different things. Um like
uh,
right before we recorded.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Um,
Um
the
and then
next piece.
Aru Shah is and the Tree of Wishes is out. This happened like 2 weeks ago, but then last week we did an interview, so we didn't touch on Demigod News. But we got like three to four, depending on how you want to count it, character arts for people or beings in Arusha and the Tree of Wishes. So that's also on Readriordan, and both those Readriordan articles have links in the description. So let's move on to our next section.
Yeah, Riordan review. The name is pretty self-explanatory. In this section, we review either a recent Riordan book or a reread.
And today's Riordan review is recent. Actually, in fact, Arusha and the Tree of Wishes came out 2 weeks ago. Time to review it.
Yep. So we're gonna be talking about the third book of the Arushah series by Roshni Chokshi, under the Rick Riordan Presents imprint.
And we're going to do a spoiler-free review first, and then a spoilery review. So if you don't want spoilers, stay tuned because there will be a spoiler-free review.
We're looking forward to.
But first, I just want to tell you about our sponsor for today's episode. The Veiled Monarch is a new book from Jolly Entertainment about a dystopian world in which a shadowy organization called the Iron Oath keeps humans safe and regulates the non-human communities. As time goes on, the Iron Oath loses its grip. The fall of the organization throws friends against each other and brings enemies together against common challenges. Get The Veiled Monarch on Amazon, Kindle, ebook readers, and coming soon to audible.com. Or visit HeyIt'sJally.com to get your copy.
This book is Diego approved.
First up, spoiler-free review. What can you say and review about the book without giving away spoilers, Diego?
First of all, the characters were really well thought out. Like the characters evolve.
Yes, I will especially say I think there was a lot of sort of development in a new, well, not so new, but relatively new character that kind of got a bigger role in the party in this book, and he was kind of an annoying character in the first book, or not in the first book, in the second
The
book, but I will
second book.
say, yeah, in the second book. But now, and he was still kind of an annoying character, but I feel there was some I wouldn't even say it's that much character growth. There is some character growth that he undergoes, but it's also more character growth with the other characters learning more about him and learning that there's more to this one character than they initially thought. And I feel that was
Yeah.
an interesting dynamic that played throughout the
So
book.
yeah, yeah, having a new character. Well, there's a lot of new characters, obviously, not a lot of new deities, but the new addition to the original like Pandava like gang,
The
right?
potatoes, you mean?
Yeah, the potatoes. They're now called the potatoes. Um, but this addition to the new Pandawa gang, like having a new character try to join like this group of friends, just gives so much opportunity for everybody else in the friend group to develop as well as the new character. So I thought that was kind of pretty fat brains from Russian Chakshi.
I will also say something about the chapter titles of Arusha in general. That kind of just crossed my mind as I was reading the book. Um, so the chapter titles are very funny, but they're imitative of Percy Jackson. But the chapter title, so Percy Jackson will usually refer to something more major that happens in the chapter, or slightly less major. But when you look at Arusha, the chapter titles will
Or just
often refer,
random lines to like a single
yeah,
line in the chapter.
they refer to like a random joke in the chapter, like all of there's like, let me just include this joke in the chapter so I could make it the chapter title. And
Yeah.
I mean, so the podcast Radio Camp Half Blood, B at the end of every episode, she has to predict what's going to happen in the next chapter based off the chapter title. And I just was thinking, like, they have trouble with Percy Jackson chapter titles. Honestly, Ari Shah would be like terrible.
Insane. Cause you can't. You because it the chapter title has
Yeah,
nothing
it's
to do with
there
what
are
the
some,
chapter is about.
no, there are
There are a
some
couple. There are a
vague,
couple. Yeah.
yes, there are some vegans, but and then so I was like, that's so like kind of, I would say tricky, and then I remembered our episode titles.
Yeah. Yeah, our episode titles are exactly that.
Like, we're not
Episode
even
titles.
Percy Jackson, something more major. We're literally Arusha when it comes to episode titles. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure this
sorry about
episode's
that, guys.
title is something very,
It's
yeah.
gonna
I'm
be
sorry
something
if
stupid.
we're,
Uh, but yeah, that's kind of our. I think the synopsis that we're like giving in the spoiler. Wait, it can't be a synopsis if it's spoiler free. Okay, that's not what I meant. Spoiler free review is it was
Diego, do you know what
a
the word
great book.
synopsis means?
It was a really good book. I enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of funny jokes, and the chapter titles are based off of those funny jokes. And a lot of character development goes on in the book. So
And
if you
that
guys haven't picked it up already,
cliffhanger, bro,
yes,
that
yes, that cliffhanger.
cliffhanger.
Um,
I actually, as opposed to you, who I think finished the book like last week, I actually finished the book this morning, and I was just like, the moment I finished it, I just texted you, ah, I just finished Arisha, that cliffhanger. I'm gonna have to wait a year for Arisha in the City of Gold.
a
Uh,
year. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to wait a year. Actually,
no,
though,
this
if we're
cliff.
lucky, if we're lucky, we're gonna have to wait less than a year. So, Roshni Chakshi, if you're listening to this episode, I don't know. How do you do the little finger guns over audio? I'm doing the finger guns
I think
right
this is
now.
Diego's way of asking for an arc of Arisha in the City of
What?
Gold, which
No, you don't say, Samuel.
which literally isn't going, it probably, oh no, so Roshani told us that she hasn't started writing the second half of the book yet, so
It probably won't happen for a while. We're still gonna have to wait a little bit though, instead of a year. Finger guns again.
this might be in the entire Riordan, not Riordan verse, because Arisha isn't part of the Riordan verse, but like in the entire Riordan, I would say empire. Can I say the Riordan
Yeah,
Empire?
yeah. You can say that.
Yeah.
The Riordan
So that,
imprint, including his own books.
well, no, because these books aren't. I'm just gonna say under the entire Riordan of, like, Riordan and Riordan affiliated books. Um, this might be like the second worst cliffhanger, like right there with Mark of Athena.
Yeah, Mark of Athena, definitely.
So yeah, so we're gonna go into the spoiler review now, but there is a timestamp in the show notes for where you should skip to if you want to skip the spoiler discussion.
Spoiler.
Anyways, um, yeah, that was your last spoiler warning. Uh, Diego, what are your thoughts?
Ooh, it is a really funny book. It's a really funny book. I love Rudy so much. Uh, Rudy is hilarious.
Yeah,
And
Rudy
I
is
I, I
definitely the
feel
character we were talking about when we said like
yeah
character
yeah
development.
yeah he's the guy we were missing. Because I feel like everybody can hate on him, but like try to support him at the same time, and it turns into like really funny situations.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think all the characters, oh man. So the way that one I think it was Sheila who was like, you're destined to, you like, you were always destined to love this one soul still after all these years. So then I remember Aiden, he's like the reincarnation of the Pandava's wives. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah.
immediately looked up who was the one Pandava that the wife loved. And you know who it is?
Who?
It's Aru Shah, man. Aiden's true love is Aru. I think in book 2, there
They
was like
hinted at it like
option.
way too much.
Well, no, so they hinted at the Bryn Aru Aiden love triangle, but I think at the end of book 2 there were still directions. It could have gone with Aru and Aiden just, saying, "Hey, we don't need romance. We can be really good friends." Or Aiden like
No, no,
just
yeah, yeah.
betraying
It
Aru and
kind of
ending up
like presented the Bryn
Bryn.
thing, and then you kind of realized that like Bryn and Aiden were brother and sister, and then it kind of like
They're they're not
fell
brother and
apart.
sister.
They act like it.
No, I think Bryn still likes Aiden. I think you're wrong if she doesn't.
I disagree.
No, I still think there was a love triangle dynamic there. I still think that. But I think it's true that I think this book definitely gave us the impression that Aiden and Aru, like especially that moment when Aiden had the key
Yeah, and then he looks right at her.
and then Aru dancing with Aiden, also that part.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to say, kind of related to that Home Depot scene, that really confused me. So, like, there's a key in the book. There's a key that they can use, right, to open whatever it is they want, but it like comes at a price, right? And like, it made sense when Aru used it, but like, Bryn was literally like ready to just like blow the doors open, like a normal like superhero would do, right? And then like Aiden's like, no, I wanna not blow the doors open. I wanna break and enter without destroying the glass of the doors and paying a price of my soul. And I was like, huh? If I'd been in that situation, I just would have broken the doors. Like it's breaking and entering either way. Yeah, but they're literally godly Pandavas. Like I would like to see the cops try to pull up to Bryn and arrest her.
This mission is supposed to be top secret, even if the cops didn't couldn't figure out they were like Pandavas in Home Depot. Maybe the gods or demons could have.
I guess that works. I'm happy with that explanation. Okay. Well, what things did you like about the book?
I like the humor. I thought,
It
as
was funny.
always, the characters were very well written. The characters all seemed very, very real people. I think Roshani does a great job with her characters. All she's done this, but especially this book, the characters felt even better than before. Uh, what else did I like about the book? The mythology that was incorporated was fun, and I especially remembering how Roshani said that she always likes to incorporate myths where she feels someone has been sort of gotten the shorter end of the stick.
Yeah.
I could just remembering that from our interview. You should
Hmm.
listen to it if you haven't already. Episode 29, right before that. Remembering that, I think that's why we're so lucky to this podcast and get to talk to all these authors. Is
Because you like understand what they're thinking when you're
you
reading
get a
the book.
whole different perspective on the book. And so we're very fortunate that we're the ones who get to talk to the authors. But I recommend it doesn't even have to be our podcast. I mean, I would prefer if you listen to our interviews, but anytime you're reading a book or watching a film, always if you get to have if there's some sort of content on YouTube or a new event, obviously not like there's not going to be, you don't want to go to an event in 2020, but in the
Yeah.
future if there's like an event where the author is speaking, it always just gives you so much more knowledge about the book. So you can I'm going to give an example of Tristan Strong. You can read Tristan Strong and it's a good book, but it's a good book about mythology, but it's also a good book about grief. But then you can talk to Kwame Mumbali at an event or hear him speak on YouTube or at an event, and he will tell you this real personal story about how Tristan dealing with his grief with Eddie mirrored himself dealing with his grief with his father. And that gives you a whole new perspective on the book. And it certainly is so much more emotionally weighted when you read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
So I think that's something that's always, whatever sort of content you're consuming, hearing from the creator always just makes it so much better.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
why that's something that kind of struck me while I was reading Ari Shah. that I noticed before, but never really noticed. I would say so sort of out there.
I totally agree with that. Now I realize like why these myths are the ones that would be the most like interesting, right?
Especially when there are so many myths when
Yeah,
Hindu
exactly. When
mythology.
there's so many myths to pick from, these the ones in which there's other perspectives of the same myth. Those are cool because as a writer or like as the person who like interprets those myths, you can kind of play around with it and it gives you so much more like versatility.
Mhm.
That was a really in-depth discussion there. So yeah, that's kind of like our thoughts on the book. The cliffhanger was pretty
Oh
annoying.
man, I don't
Also the
know.
twist. Can we talk about the
Was
twist?
Arusha never his daughter? Does she have an other weird sister? I don't. And then Boo. There were hints throughout the book that he was gonna like betray them,
Yeah,
but then
yeah,
when you
yeah,
really got to the
definitely.
end and you saw that memory, that was just like,
That was
bam.
crazy. Yeah, I know. No, 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 no. You could tell Boo was gonna betray them the second. Where did Boo come in? Oh, when they were with the bird god. When they were with the bird god, you could tell Boo was gonna betray them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because like throughout the book there were things that like, oh, Boo likes to wish a lot about like his shadow and stuff. And it's like, okay, that makes like Boo like a little bit more spookier, I guess. But like when they were meeting with the bird god and he's like, no, 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 you must go after the tree. I was like, he's evil.
And
Yep.
especially, I think there's been hints about how Boo is untrustworthy throughout the Aru Shah series, and we've chosen to ignore it because, from Aru Shah's perspective, he's such a cool guy. He's a pigeon. We love him. He eats his Oreos. He loves the Pandava sisters, but now we're like, Boo! Like, we
What?
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, by the time you're midway through book 3, you're like, wait a second, this ain't right.
Yeah. It's
Um,
like, Boo, are you okay?
oh
Yeah, Boo
man.
Boo had a pretty interesting bit of character revealing.
And usually in Arushat, there's a cooldown after the battle. It tells us how they were rewarded, and then at the very end, there's like a big surprise. But here, there was no cooldown to the battle. We don't even know how the battle ended. Like, sure, she wished for them to win, but did they even? Or is she right now unconscious and in like his sleeper's house, or is she physically there? Yeah, I don't.
So many questions. I think we should interview
And right
Roshani
now,
again and
the
ask her about
only
that.
And right now, the only hint we have for book 4 is something about prairie dogs. Oh my goodness! And the title,
I, I
jeez.
I think I think I think we should call up Roshani and be like, what's up with this? What's up with this cliffhanger? Because like I knew that during the Roshani interview, but like you didn't, and I didn't want to spoil the book for you, and like I kind of wanted to like ask a lot of questions, but I was like, you know what, like that's kind of like awkward, and we'll just wait for the next book. But like now that I have somebody else to talk to this about, yeah, we need to ask her. It's necessary
Next year.
next year.
It's your own fault that we couldn't have gotten this answer sooner.
Sorry,
Um,
I'm so sorry, Samuel.
you could have just told me to cover my ears for a second. Jeez.
Now that I think about it, that would have been a pretty good question. In
Like,
hindsight, we should have asked.
why? Cliffhanger, why? What could you tell us about the cliffhanger? I don't think we can talk more about this book without just
No,
complaining.
no, no. I think
But
I think we need to move on.
oh, we wouldn't be upset about this cliffhanger unless it was a good book, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's
So,
a great book,
yeah.
so that's why we're so upset. Okay, Sam. That's it for this episode of the Half Blood Report, I guess. Samuel, how can I contact this podcast?
You can follow the show on Twitter at Half Report. You can also find us on Instagram at The Half Blood Report, or email the show at thehalfbloodreport@gmail.com. We also have a website, thehalfbloodreport.com. We now have a bookshop page. which is in the show notes. And if you don't know what Bookshop is, it's a really easy to use platform where you can order books very similarly to Amazon, but all the profits, well, not basically all the profits, go to an independent bookstore. And so our Bookshop is a small affiliate, which gives us a small little thing whenever you order a book from our Bookshop, and it also gives a lot to independent bookstores, which are not doing too well at this time. So
yeah, make sure to help them out, help us out. It's a win-win.
yeah, and it's a win-win-win. And if
It's a
there is
win-win-win.
if there's any Rick Riordan book that you haven't read yet that you've been wanting to read, any Rick Riordan Presents book that you've been wanting to read but haven't read yet, any book by a Rick Riordan Presents author that's like that isn't necessarily Rick Riordan Presents, but like a series starter that you've been interested in reading, we have a lot of those on our Bookshop, and you can also browse, I think, with our affiliate links. So all very good reasons you should check that out.
Yeah.
That said, it's time for our credits. Our theme music is actually by Diego.
And Samuel does already.
My co-host here is Diego, and I'm Samuel.
This is the Half-Blood Report podcast, the only HBR that matters.
We'll see you next week.